The time is 8:45 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Dilani Gunawardena and read by Tilani Piris. The headlines. Sri Lanka introduces economic reforms agenda to boost economic recovery. The Minister Ali Sabri states that Sri Lanka's debt restructuring should be equal for all. The construction of over 4-storied buildings in Nuwara is limited. The third batch of Sri Lankans is evacuated from conflict-bound Sudan. Proposals are invited regarding the amendment of the Anti-Terrorism Act. And on international news, Kremlin is unaware of any Vatican peace plan mission for Ukraine. And on sports football, FIFA threatens Europe with Women's World Cup broadcast blackout. The President's Media Division reported Sri Lanka has implemented a comprehensive economic reforms agenda to revive the country's struggling economy. Accordingly, the government has initiated several key recovery strategies, with the establishment of a National Productivity Commission being flagship project. The working group aims to explore international insights on productivity, materialization, and to this end, the government reached out to the Australian Productivity Commission, which is recognized as an international standard. In response, the Australian High Commission in Sri Lanka expressed their willingness to support Sri Lanka in this regard. To facilitate knowledge sharing, the Australian Productivity Commission conducted a virtual session on April 27th, 2023 for the Sri Lankan working group assigned to establish the commission. The event was hosted by the Presidential Secretariat. This initiative marks another engagement between the Government of Australia and the Government of Sri Lanka, reflecting their support for Sri Lanka's economic reforms and revival. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ali Sabri, has spoken on Sri Lanka's debt restructuring process, stating that encouraging signs have been seen thus far, although Sri Lanka is not completely out of the woods. The minister expressed these ideas in an interview with Channel News Asia when inquired as to where Sri Lanka's optimism pertaining to economic recovery is coming from, despite the Asian Development Bank predicting that things will get worse later this year before seeing gradual improvement in 2024. The minister further noted that there are several factors contributing towards this optimism, including the stabilization of the US dollar, the increase of inbound tourists, and the fact that inflation too is relatively under control as opposed to the rates recorded in 2022. Meanwhile, when questioned on Sri Lanka's readiness for the first interview of the extended fund facility approved by the IMF, which is due to take place in September, the minister assured that there is a sense of stability in the country and that all queues and shortages have been eliminated. Speaking on the debt restructuring process as a whole, Sabri emphasized that the process should be one that is equal for all, with a universal application of debt relief. The construction of buildings with more than 4 stories in the Nuwara district has been limited with effect from yesterday in accordance with the proposal by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The Cabinet of Ministers recently granted approval to the relevant proposal tabled by the President to introduce regulations under the provisions of the Urban Development Authority Act with regard to the matter. Earlier, President Wickremesinghe has raised concerns regarding the matter that the allure of Nuwara city is gradually being decreased as a result of the informal development that is being carried out in the area, and it has had a great impact on the tourism industry. Meanwhile, the relevant cabinet paper has also been proposed to appoint a task force consisting of representatives of relevant stakeholders under the chairmanship of the Governor of Central Province in order to regulate the construction of new buildings in consultation with the National Building Research Organisation. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Sri Lanka Insurance, like a father, like a mother.
The third batch of the Sri Lankans who were evacuated from the Republic of Sudan amidst the ongoing conflict arrived in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia yesterday. This was confirmed by both the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ali Sabri, and the Embassy of Sri Lanka in Saudi Arabia. Accordingly, a group of 11 Sri Lankan nationals were evacuated under the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia evacuation program yesterday, bringing the total number of evacuees to around 30. Meanwhile, a batch of 18 Sri Lankans residing in Sudan have rejected to be evacuated from the conflict-bound country and repatriated back to Sri Lanka, stating that they would lose their jobs if they leave. The Minister Vijaydas Rajapaksa says the public can submit their proposals regarding the Anti-Terrorist Act until 31st May 2023. The Minister requests civil organizations, civil activists and the public to send their proposals in this regard in writing. These proposals will be taken into consideration in making amendments to the Act. The proposals should be emailed to the following email address: justicemedia07@gmail.com. That ends local news to now.
Virtual Claim Assistance. Sri Lanka Insurance Motor Plus launched its newest value-added service, Virtual Claim Assistance, which allows customers to have their vehicle inspected and assessed remotely by a qualified inspector after an incident. This service eliminates the need for customers to attend physical inspection and assures that their work is properly assessed, giving customers peace of mind. Sri Lanka Insurance Motor Plus, the best from Sri Lanka Insurance.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Chief of the Air Staff of the Indian Air Force, Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chowdhury, called on the State Minister of Defence, Honourable Primitha Bandarathenakone, at his office in Colombo today. The State Minister warmly welcomed the visiting Indian Air Force Chief on his arrival and had a cordial discussion with him. The State Minister expressed gratitude for the cooperation and assistance that India had accorded to Sri Lanka and said that he looks forward to working closely for mutual benefit and regional security. Air Chief Marshal Chowdhury thanked the State Minister for the warm reception and said that the long-standing defence cooperation between the two countries should continue and that he would extend his support in this regard. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on Watch Light tonight, the prices of liter domestic liquefied petroleum gas cylinders are set to be further reduced tomorrow. Chairman of Litro Gas, Lanka Mudita Piris, announced this while speaking at a press conference this morning. Accordingly, he noted that the price of a 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder is expected to be reduced by around 100 rupees, while the prices of other cylinders will also be reduced proportionately. The price reduction is expected to be effective from midnight tomorrow. That came to you on Watchlight. Moving on with world news and the headlines first. Kremlin is unaware of any Vatican peace plan mission for Ukraine. Iran hears martyrdom of Adnan. Australia is to ban recreational vaping in a major public health move. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told journalists that Russia is not aware of the Vatican's mission to help resolve the conflict with Ukraine. A Ukrainian official close to the President, Volodymyr Zelensky's office, also told CNN that Kyiv has no knowledge of a peace mission involving the Vatican. These comments come after Pope Francis on Sunday told journalists that the Vatican is part of a mission to end the war in Ukraine. The Pope said the mission was in the course, but it was not yet public. A spokesman for the Iran's foreign ministry said Adnan martyrdom further depicts the righteousness of Palestinian resistance. He added that the way this Palestinian citizen was arrested and the inhumane treatment he received from the Zionist regime is a clear example of the inhuman and violent behavior that the regime has used against the Palestinian nation and fighters for more than 7 decades in an organized and widespread manner. The spokesman also stated the silence of the global community and human rights organizations will lead to the increasing audacity of the apartheid Zionist regime. Recreational vaping will be banned in Australia as part of a major crackdown amid what experts say is an epidemic. Minimum quality standards will also be introduced and the sale of vapes restricted to pharmacies. Nicotine vapes already require prescription in Australia, but the industry is poorly regulated and a black market is thriving. Health Minister Mark Butler says the products are creating a new generation of nicotine addicts in Australia. Back to the world news headlines. Kremlin is unaware of any Vatican peace plan mission for Ukraine. Iran hears martyrdom of Adnan. Australia is to ban recreational vaping in major public health move. That ends world news.
Development news.
The construction of buildings with more than 4 stories in the Nuwara district has been limited with effect from yesterday in accordance with the proposal by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The Cabinet of Ministers recently granted approval to the relevant proposal tabled by the President to introduce regulations under the provisions of the Urban Development Authority Act with regard to the matter. Earlier, President Wickremesinghe had raised concerns regarding the matter that the allure of Nuwara city is gradually being decreased as a result of the informal development that is being carried out in the area, and it has had a great impact on the tourism industry. That's development news. Moving on with sports news, Europe's top football nations face a broadcast blackout for this year's Women's World Cup unless media can improve on their disappointing offers for the rights, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has said. Offers from the big 5 European countries, England, Spain, Italy, Germany and France, were not acceptable to football's world governing body and a slap in the face of the players and all women worldwide, Infantino said yesterday. Infantino said it was their moral and legal obligation not to undersell the FIFA Women's World Cup at a World Trade Organization meeting in Geneva. The World Cup is being co-hosted by Australia and New Zealand from July 20th to August 20th. That came to you in sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The AIA Insurance's Higher Education Scholarships Program, now in its 28th consecutive year, rewards the top performers from each district at the Grade 5 Scholarship Examination by giving them a monthly bursary from advanced level class right up to the completion of their university degree. Started in 1994, the program was initiated to lend a hand to Sri Lanka's brightest and most promising students as they are the future of our nation. The AIA is proud to inspire the Sri Lankan students and to empower the future of the nation while help people live healthier, longer, better lives. That's business news.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Coming up, economic news, the Sri Lanka Banks Association, which represents all the licensed banks in Sri Lanka and underpins all sectors of the economy expressing its concerns, has requested clarity from the government on public debt restructuring. Issuing a statement on debt restructuring process, the SLBC said the banking sector is the main mechanism through which the central bank implements monetary policy influencing the financial markets and stressed that stability of the banking system is critical for the national interest. That came to you in economic news.
Weather report.
The prevailing showery condition over the island is expected to continue further during the next few days as well. Showers or thunder showers will occur over most parts of the island after 1 p.m. Showers may occur in coastal areas of the western province and in the Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mannar, Puttalam, Galle and Matra districts during the morning as well. Fairly heavy showers of about 100 millimeters are likely at some places in the eastern and Nuwara provinces and in the Polonnaruwa district. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters are likely at some places elsewhere over the island. That was the weather report, and now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. Sri Lanka introduces economic reforms agenda to boost economic recovery. The Minister Ali Sabri states that Sri Lanka's debt restructuring should be equal for all. The construction of over 4-storied buildings in Nuwara is limited. The third batch of Sri Lankans is evacuated from conflict-bound Sudan. Proposals are invited regarding the amendment of the Anti-Terrorism Act. And on international news, Kremlin is unaware of any Vatican peace plan mission for Ukraine. And on sports news, football, FIFA threatens Europe with Women's World Cup broadcast blackout. That ends this news broadcast.